Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Anmoll Astrology channel. Now today's video is going to be about Jupiter and Venus conjunction in Vedic astrology. If you guys are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment and share, and you can even press the bell icon so that you get notified whenever my video is posted. Okay, so if you guys would like to have your personal readings from me, check out the link below, www.anmollastrology.com, and under the consultation section you can book a personal reading for yourself. So now today's video is about Jupiter and Venus conjunction in Vedic astrology. First of all, we need to know what does Venus means and what does Jupiter means. Now, one thing we all know and we are aware of is that Venus is wife for a man and Jupiter is husband for a woman. So these predictions actually tell a lot about your relationships, about your marriage, and about one's spouse. And one more thing you need to know is that Venus also represents your spouse regardless of male or female, because Venus is about the relationships, about the person you get united with, you get that unionship with. So Venus also represents your spouse. Okay, so first of all, what is Venus? Venus is luxury, Venus is pleasure, Venus is romance, Venus is devotion, Venus is astrology as well. Venus is something that provides you that comfort and pleasure. Venus represents the watery element and the earth element. Venus is actually a very soft planet, very soft planet. That's why you'll always see people with Venus as an ascendant or Venus nakshatras, Venus prominency. Always those people get easily offended because they are very sensitive and soft in their heart. Okay, so what else does Venus represents? Venus represents, it's naturally rules the second and the seventh house. Second house is about your finances, about your income, it's about your family, it's about what you value, it's about what you possess, what you eat. Venus also represents about your cars, all the luxury items you have. What sort of luxury items you want to have in your life? Are you that of a flamboyant person, or you are a person who is into a simple life? That is what Venus tells. Okay, now we need to talk about Jupiter. Jupiter is wisdom, it is higher knowledge, it is one old cranky teacher who teaches us different things. Jupiter is a helpful person, Jupiter is a manager, Jupiter is expansion, Jupiter is the belief system, Jupiter is the guru who guides you, who counsels you. Jupiter is a counselor, advisor, everything of that sort. And Jupiter is known to be the most benefic planet in Vedic astrology. But you see, now in this generation, you always need to know this thing about Desh Kal Patra. Astrology always transforms or molds into which time is going on. Like if I was back ancient times, what would have it been that Venus was considered as the Daitya Guru? Anything, if you become a person who is all into materialism, who is all into out enjoying, traveling, all of that person was not said to be a good person, right? But a person who is very much into religious activities, who is into spirituality, who is very systematic with his or her routine, and who is very much into praying on time, eating on time, that person was known to be the best person, to be a wise person, to be a role model, right? So that was back then. That's why Jupiter was considered everything back then. But now it's actually different. How it's different is because the time has evolved. People have different preferences now. So now what difference you'll see, first of all, in Venus and Jupiter is both are gurus. One is the Daitya Asura Guru and one is the Guru of the Devtas. both are in a way advisors. I've always seen if a person has Jupiter dominance, that person is going to advise more towards spirituality and towards higher consciousness. But if a person has Venus dominance, a person is going to advise you accordingly. A person is actually going to advise you about worldly affairs, about worldly matters, that how you should practically deal with all the things out in public, how you should cleverly get into things. So this is the difference between Venus and Jupiter. But as we all are aware of the fact that both of these are actually enemies, because Jupiter does not know what worldly affairs are and how to deal with them. Jupiter is just about optimism, just about expansion, just about being kind to people, being a wiser person. And Venus is about being clever. Venus is about being diplomatic and manipulative. I won't say manipulative, but diplomatic. Okay, so that's why both of these energies, first of all, these two planets are enemies to each other. So these planets actually cause good things and bad things on the other end as well. Okay, so now first of all, this creates the Saraswati yoga, the yoga that a person is fortunate enough to have knowledge, to have the knowledge, the higher wisdom, as well as the worldly affairs. So there's always a balance between knowing what is right and knowing how to implement it out in the world. So that this is one plus point. Now, when the negative point comes in, which is about that these people actually face a hard time in their relationships or in their marriage. Now, why is that so? We need to understand Jupiter is a bit cranky teacher. So he wants everything to be wise enough. He wants everything to be righteous. But Venus is not like that. Venus is a person that if you'll ask that Venus to do something in order to get something else, he's willing to do that. But Jupiter may not do that. Jupiter will always think about it. Is it right or is it not? Is it for the betterment of everyone else or is it just for me? And Venus will be like, okay, I want that. I'm going to achieve that. I'm going to do that. Because that's what can lead me to this pleasure, or it can lead me to this thing. And the other thing is that such a person will always feel that they are superior to everything. And as of if this conjunction is in the sign of Cancer, if it is exalted, or if this conjunction is in the sign of Sagittarius, that means if the Jupiter has that dignity, then actually it becomes quite inflexible. It becomes quite rigid. A person is not easily swayed, or a person is not easily convinced. They have their own things, they have their own set of beliefs, and they are not very adjustable to things. Even if Venus does not have any dignity, then also this happens. That can be in the sign of Virgo, where Venus is debilitated. So if Jupiter has the dignity, then this happens. But if Venus has the dignity more than Jupiter, this can also be seen by the degrees. If Venus has the lower degree, then Venus is on the throne. If Jupiter has the lowest degree, then Jupiter is. So if Venus has the lowest degrees if Venus is exalted, or it is an own sign, then such a person will welcome a bit of flexibility, a bit of cleverness, a bit of moldness, just to get their way out. So in today's era, I would say that is more helpful, because you need to, practically you need to gel in things so as to get your things done, so as to gain if financially or anyway, success comes that way. If you're rigid, if you're too wise, I don't think it is very beneficial to survive in this era. though that is a very good thing, but of course everything has its pros and cons, right? So now next thing what you'll see is that Jupiter rules the 9th house and the 12th house. So 9th house is about long distance travel, 12th house is about overseas travels. 9th house is about one's belief system, one's how a person thinks, how a person has that framework of their thinking pattern. 12th house is something beyond this world. 12th house is actually escapism. 12th house is also about devotion as well. That's why it is denoted for spirituality, because there is where Venus is exalted, because Venus wants to be devoted to something higher than this normal plane. 12th house is about isolation, it is about hospitals, it's about jails, it's about a person's subconscious mind. 12th house actually also tells that how a person's thinking is. So that is why Jupiter tells how a person's thinking is, how a person's thoughts are, because 12th house tells us what you are thinking in your subconscious. Okay, so that's why when Venus and Jupiter come together, first you'll see we'll divide it as for a male and for a female. So for a male, he is going to get a wife who is quite righteous, who is very creative, of course, very creative and knowledgeable, very knowledgeable person, spiritual person, a person who can be highly educated, but it depends upon the dignity and other influences that where that conjunction is getting placed. The other thing that you'll see is that such a person is going to get a wife who is very good manager of money. And one thing I have also seen that with this conjunction, be it a man or a woman, such a person is going to travel a lot, travel overseas. Actually, they can travel overseas or they can travel to a longer distance for pilgrimages. Such a couple will have that inclination towards traveling to spiritual places, to isolated places. Now, if for a woman is going to have a man who has the knowledge, the wisdom of what the world is about and how to deal with worldly affairs, as well as what's in the higher self, the higher consciousness spiritually. But one thing is quite common in this conjunction is that both men or women, they are going to get a person who is very rigid with what they believe in. They will feel that I am superior to everyone. It has actually always been seen with Jupiter and Venus conjunction that people are quite rigid, people are quite like this, that I know better than you. So always there's this sort of clash in the relationships. The other thing you'll always also see is that such couple, two people, are going to be very involved in spiritual activities together. Like for example, I can recall a person who I know, actually not just one person, I would say I have I think I read 3 to 4 charts where Jupiter and Venus was conjunct together in different houses. But one thing was very common, that these people were actually very much involved in religious activities together. Even when they do yoga or any such sort of things, they were always doing it together. And they have a routine about it. They have a set of routine together. They always do everything together, specifically if it's about spirituality or if it's about such things. Okay, and the other thing you'll notice with this conjunction is, the other thing you'll see is that such people are always concerned about everyone around them. They are always concerned. They feel as if it's their responsibility to love and nurture everyone, to take care about the needs of everyone else, to help everyone else. Now, the other thing you'll see is that with this conjunction, actually you will tend to have at least one long-term relationship in your life, which might teach you a lot about what actually relationships are. You can be disregarded in that relationship because of the thing that you were not considerate enough. Or I would say that a person can leave such an individual for another person. I have actually seen this happening in a few cases. I won't say all. I would love to know from you guys if you have this conjunction and it has happened. But this one common theme I have personally seen with people. I have at least one relation that has taught them a lot. And they'll always be talking about it, that specific relationship taught me this. Okay, another thing you're going to see is that after marriage, such a person's luck rises. The financial condition rises. There are more of long-term or short-term investments for a person. Because you see, we have houses, we have 2nd, 7th, 12th and 9th house here. So what happens is naturally a person is more inclined towards long-term investments, towards buying a home, buying a property, or buying something which can actually give them a retirement solution sort of thing. Now the other thing that you will see is that marriage can actually bring about a lot of expenses. There can be some major expense, and in few cases I have also seen is that after marriage, after a couple of years of marriage, if one of Venus Jupiter Mahadasha is going on, if Jupiter Venus Mahadasha is going on, if somehow Jupiter or Venus are activated in the Mahadasha or the Antardasha, then one of your ancestors as in old people around you, in your neighborhood or in your family may pass away, and that activates after marriage. Another thing you'll see is that with this conjunction, along with expenses, there can also be some debts that you have to take on you after marriage. And one more thing I have in my mind is that if this conjunction happens to be in the sign of Leo, suppose, if it is in the 6th house or it is in the 12th house, this is actually a few examples that I'm quoting here, that if it is in these houses, there can be more houses as well, but if it is like that, then, and it is in the sign of Leo, and the Mahadasha is running of Jupiter or of Venus, more so I would say Jupiter, then such a person is bound to get on debts just because they have been very kind to other people, that they are just lending them money or they are just not asking for their money back. This thing also I have seen very prominently. Now the other thing you'll see is that if this conjunction does not have any malefic influence, then you'll always see these people have a very good aura around them. Their aura naturally attracts people to get counseling from them, to get advices from them. Their voice is quite soothing and healing. The other thing you'll see is these people always dress up like a priestly person. Other thing you'll see is that some sort of responsibility comes with the marriage for this person. And another thing you'll see is that such a person gets the opportunity to travel long distance or to foreign lands in the ages of 21 and 33. Now the other thing that you'll see with Jupiter and Venus conjunction is that what Jupiter is all about optimism. Jupiter is all about expansion. So such people have a big heart. These people are very helpful. These people and their spouse as well. The other thing that you'll see with this conjunction is that a person's family is also very involved into spirituality, and also they are also very much into astrology and believing into the societal norms. Because you see, Venus naturally rules the second house, so it is the house of family. So there comes the Jupiter, so there's expansion of income, and also their family is quite inclined to these things. The other thing you'll see is that such people actually believe a lot in astrology if malefic influence is not there. Now, one more thing you'll see with this conjunction is, which I have actually observed a couple of times, that if a person has Jupiter Venus conjunction in their D10 or in their more than one divisional charts, suppose a person has this conjunction in D1, D9 and D10, or any of the two charts, such a person can also be into lecturership, or such a person can also be into writing and publishing. These people actually earn their money through imaginatory work, through teaching, through higher knowledge, or through a business which is related to these things. And generally these people get married a bit late in life. By late, what I mean is approximately they're 27 onwards, between, I would say, 27 to 30, or it can even be later than that, but most probably in these years. That is because Jupiter is the person who is not very considerate about the marriage life, and that is why it's Jupiter's wife was taken by Moon, Chandra, and their baby was born, who was Mercury. So Jupiter was actually always busy working outside. That's why we have the Pushya Nakshatra, which is ruled by Brihaspati, and Pushya people are known to be so involved in their work and outer worldly affairs that their spouse or their one of the relationships, in at least one of the relationship, the person leaves them for someone else, because they're so busy doing their work, counseling people, advising people. So that is what happens with this conjunction. So guys, this was my analysis on Jupiter and Venus conjunction. I hope it was helpful, and do let me know your own observations if you have this conjunction or you know someone who has this conjunction. Okay, see you next time. Bye bye, take care.